What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out and supporting this episode of Raised a Geek. This week, after what feels like forever, Invincible came back from its mid-season break, and we couldn't be happier. And the X-Men get a summer relaunch, so let's talk about it all. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Don. How we doing, man?
Chris, what is up today? My friend, everything is all right. Cannot complain as usual. Having a nice end of the week here. Gonna talk some nerd stuff with you, some superhero stuff. Back to our roots.
Yeah, let's
Last week
comic
we
book
were
it up.
I'm excited. How are you today?
Yeah, man, doing good. Like I said, end of the week, bringing lazy Sunday. It's kind of a rainy day. Nothing really too much going on. Just kind of was reading some comic books, playing some Final Fantasy Rebirth, trying to get into that a little bit more and work down my to read pile because we've joked privately and probably publicly here that
All
our to read piles, as I think
right.
all comic book sympathizers can
Yeah,
attend to read
yeah,
piles get out of control.
they do. I think last week I was trying to whittle down, and like I have so many now that I have them organized in by book, and like I'm gonna read 6 issues of this
Yeah.
and then 6 issues of that. And no longer can I read like, oh, I got these 8 books this week. This is what I'm gonna read. No, it's like now I have to read by whatever. So I read like, I combine them together because they're all part of the same story, and we're gonna talk about it here in a second. But my Immortal X-Men and X-Men together in like order, and that was like 13 issues, and I read them in like I had 13 unread issues of those. So I like read them in a day. I was like, oh, that's so much reading. Then I go look. I'm like, look how much I have left. That's not even a drop in the bucket. But
I
yeah.
know I just got the new House of Slaughter,
Mm,
and it's like there's like 27 or something, and I realized that the last House of Slaughter I read was the first arc, and I've
yeah.
just been buying it for like
A
a year
year.
and a half, not
Yeah.
reading it, just keep buying House of Slaughter, going, yeah, I want to keep reading this. I enjoyed the first arc, but I don't know why I didn't go back after the first arc. So I read
Sure.
the first six, and now I got like 20 something to read. I'm like, oh my God.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. But we were
Yeah.
talking this week. It was, comic book day, and you and I are texting back and forth as we were driving around the town trying to find the ultimate books.
Hmm.
Why are these things so hard to find, man?
I
Like,
don't know.
I
Yeah.
keep I've subscribed to Spider-Man and X-Men, and I can't even get them at my store. I just have little notes like still waiting for this. I think I'm waiting for like the second printing, which is it crazy for like ultimate books being that hard to find that even my comic book store can't get it, or is that just my comic book store being weird?
Weird, weird. It's possible. I don't know. The ultimate line um is historically like an alternate version of what's going on. So if the ultimate books are starting, it's like a place to start from the beginning of a story. You don't have to be bogged down by like continuity of the other books. It's kind of like a fresh start for some things. But the other, the regular Marvel 616 is still going on over here, but you have these other kind of side stories like alternate universe. So I
Hmm.
think that's part of it. Like people want being like, oh, cool, like Spider-Man, Black Panther, X-Men, new stories that I don't have to have read years of books to
Yeah.
understand. Um, and yeah, the Ultimate Spider-Man was the first one to come out. Now, it helps that Jonathan Hickman's writing it, who's like a well-renowned writer that has a lot of respect, and just the art's by Marco Cicchetto, who just got off the Daredevil run, and people really liked his art. So those two together, I think that was a lot of the hype. But yeah, they're pretty hard to come by. I mean, that first Spider-Man, I think you could find on eBay almost right away for like 25 bucks, 30 bucks for the first issue, and it's a $5 comic book.
Now I think it's up to 80.
Yeah, something stuff crazy like that. And like um I reserved that one, but I forgot about Black Panther and X-Men. I just luckily happened to find a second printing of Ultimate Black Panther one, which I read that one and the second one.
Me too.
Pretty off to a pretty good start.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. But I couldn't find that initially and can't find X-Men. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's just hype. People are just hype. People
Because
pick
yeah,
books every now
I
and then to
couldn't
hype up.
find Spider-Man. I ended up
Yeah.
getting like a third printing of number one. I did get a
Hmm.
first printing of number two. I know I explained to you about how my comic book Like I after asking like 3 weeks for this comic, he was like, "Give me a second," and he just magically pulled one out of a drawer, and I was like,
Mm,
"What are you doing over there, dude?"
all right.
So I
Seems a
thought that
little,
was kind of weird, but I
yeah,
took it. But I'm sitting there like, I've been asking you for this comic for like 3 weeks, and you just have one in this drawer. So like, what
right.
kind of
Sometimes,
shenanigans are you up to?
sometimes when that happens too, that might have been a book someone reserved, but they just never came in for. And
Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna sell this thing to whoever asked for it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, seems a little weird. It's a
But
little
yeah, we were
shady.
talking about it a little bit. Like, I'm like, "Hey man, anything about Spider-Man Ultimate 2?" And he's just like, "Yeah, I think we got you down for like a second printing, and that's supposed to come out sometime in March." And I'm just like, "Okay, I guess that's cool, whatever."
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I still was talking about it. I said, "Yeah, man, these are hard." And then he's like, "Give me a second, man. Let me see. I might have saw one." And I'm like, "You knew that there was one in that drawer the whole time we were talking.
Right.
You just decided at this point to be like, here you go,
This
man."
yeah, this is the point of the conversation where it's okay for me to purchase this from you.
Yeah. So I'm just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's cool. I appreciate what he did if he's listening. Um, he's like, that was me. I did that dude a favor, and now he's making fun of me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just been a crazy, and it begs this question because honestly, I think for this ultimate line, this is almost the path that I need to go down. But
Mhm.
like digital versus print,
Mhm.
like
Sure.
it almost makes me just want to be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just gonna buy these books digital.
Yeah.
But I'm scared to open that door
Sure.
because if my to read pile that I can physically see
Right.
is this bad, what the
Yeah.
hell does a digital to read pile look like?
Yeah, it can just keep building and building and it doesn't bother you because you're not looking at it taking up space in your room.
I would never know.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's been a debate for years, since comicsology and all those things and ways to buy your books digitally, even straight from the, companies like you could buy digital straight from DC, straight from Marvel.
Hmm.
It's yeah, as the it's like along with anything else, as the world goes more digital, like what do I do? Um, a lot of people, including myself, your entire way of listening to music nowadays is digital. I have records that I don't play, and all my CDs are gone. I don't have tapes, so like I go to Spotify and find, I caved in and listen to my music that way, and it's convenient for me.
Yeah.
The same with movies, like in video games, you can buy games digitally. I buy them digitally because it's more convenient than going to Best Buy, which I don't like stepping foot into, and I don't like going to GameStop. So if I want Final Fantasy the day it comes out and get that download ready, I'm going to buy it digitally, which is what I did.
Yep.
And so comic books to me are like the last standing one that I still have this internal struggle with
Hmm.
because I just like holding a comic book and I still like going to comic book stores. I don't care about music because I don't like going to, I mean, if there were still record
I
stores
was
like
like,
when we were kids, like Threshold in Tinley Park, Illinois,
shout
shout out,
out.
that I used to go to. If I could still go to places like that and like browse music and go onto listening stations, but those kind of things, granted, they are around still, but not in the same way they used to be. But going to the comic book store is like an experience for me. I like it. I like talking to the guys. I've known them for a decade, so I like having conversations with them and I like browsing through stuff and I like getting home and like holding it and putting it in its bag and like being like that's mine. I have it. And then I look and I have the whole collection of a whole run of a thing and like look at this stack. I can read this back anytime I want or give them to my nephew when he grows up or sell them or do whatever. And it's just like I don't know, it's hard. So it's hard for me to think about going strictly digital comics. Now, for certain hard to thing finds. That's not even a hard to find things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't see myself ever being like a primarily digital comic book reader just because I just like owning them. I don't know. How you feel about it?
I've gone back and forth, and this week it's been a little bit more just like, do I just want
Mhm.
digital and just like be able to do this for the at least, like I said, I'm really debating about it for just this ultimate line to be able to read these books because I just
Mhm.
want to read them. Like at this point, I'm not going to be able to get a number one Ultimate X-Men first printing because my
Sure.
store didn't get me one. So I'm assuming I'm on a list to get a second or third printing or whatever it is. So it's like I'm not whatever version I'm going to get isn't going to be worth anything.
Mhm.
So if I just want to read it, I could just buy it digitally.
Yeah.
and be able to read it, because that is part of my other thing is like I really have zero intentions on selling any comic books. Like that is
Hmm.
not why I buy them to sell them. I buy them to read them and to read these stories and just kind of I love comics.
Hmm.
So I go back and forth where I'm like, digital would be really nice, get on a plane and I could just bust out some digital. So right now I did sign up for Comixology subscription through Amazon,
Sure.
which does give you like a bunch of old trades. Like that's how I was reading X-Men Volume 1 to like catch up to the relaunch we're about to talk about.
Hmm.
So to read some more X-Men and stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe, little bits here and there and just having it open could be cool.
Sure.
We'll see. I'm on a 30-day sub. We'll see how much I actually read if it's worth it.
There you go.
Um,
Let me know
so
how it goes.
so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But as I just kind of teased and spoiled for what we were going to talk about, the X-Men from the Ashes relaunch was announced this week, tending to setting up the new series, new series from the X-Men comic book world post Krakoa,
Hmm.
starting summer 2024. Did
Yep.
any of that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Krakoa, the Krakoa storyline that's been going on for, a couple years now is coming to an end. And as is with all these big franchises, we get new number ones at some point, new creative team.
Mm-hmm.
So that time for X-Men is right around the corner, and
Was
they started advertising it.
was Krakoa like Powers and what was it, House and Powers of X?
Yeah, the Age of Krakoa started with Jonathan Hickman's House of X, or the was it the House of X and Powers of X?
I think so.
Yeah, that miniseries kicked off the Krakoan
And that
age.
was that was pre-COVID, right?
Perhaps. I think so. Yeah, because
Because
I
when I
got
was looking at the new one, when the guy who's currently writing it, which what's his name?
Gary
Robert.
Dugan, Jerry Dugan or
Yeah.
Jerry Dugan. Yeah.
He started his first volume that I started reading was from 2021. So he's been writing
Hmm.
since 2021
Hmm.
X-Men. So that means Hickman was out in 2021.
Yeah, Hickman left. Hickman left at some point, but Dugan kept writing it, but they didn't like change anything. It stayed
Well,
on the
Hickman
same
still, it
story.
still even says in the book that he's still like the head of X.
Yeah,
So he's
he
still
was
kind of the
overseeing it, but not writing it. Yeah.
gotcha. So let's talk about this X-Men relaunch. I got a quick their PR blast that Marvel dropped this week, as well as a pretty sweet video trailer.
Hmm.
Getting pumped up. I thought that was really cool. Comic book trailer. I don't know if I've ever actually seen one of those before, so that was really. I've seen
Yeah.
visual comics in that style, but I don't know if I've ever seen one set up like a trailer before. So
It was
definitely
cool.
check
Check
that
that
out
out.
over on Marvel's website. If I can remember, maybe I'll link it in our description below.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll repost it on socials.
there you go. Don's got you. Remember socials, Raise the Geek. Hit us up on all channels. Shoot us
Hmm.
an email, raisethegeek@gmail.com. There's our shout out. So, X-Men from the Ashes relaunch. This new era of X-Men will be centered around the three flagship titles written and drawn by some of today's most influential and acclaimed creators: Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman's X-Men, Gail Simone's and David Marquez's Uncanny X-Men, and Ewing, Ewing,
Eve L. Ewing.
Eve L. Ewing and
Yeah.
Carmen Carnero's Exceptional X-Men. I looked at all those names before when I put them down to make sure I could read them all and pronounce them all. And I
Hmm.
saw Ewing and was just like, no, I got that. And for whatever reason, I didn't. So I'm just like,
The only reason
Patrick
I know,
Ewing.
yeah, Patrick Ewing. That's how I know.
So like I knew that in my brain. I was like, no, I got that. That was the only one
Yeah.
that just like made sure I could say it. And I practiced it and still screwed it up. So each series will offer different explorations of the mutant mythos as they take Marvel's Merry Mutants into bold and untrodden territory. So as
Hmm.
we said, this is kind of like the Krakoa era is ending. And Don, since you've kept up with the X-Men books from the Krakoa, I did tap out
Hmm.
somewhere in there. They did too much to me. My to
Yeah.
read pile was getting insane. I have a box of just X-Men books from that era
Yeah.
that I never read because they had so many offshoots, Marauders and medieval X-Men, and like they just had so
There
much
was a
going on, and
ton.
I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to do it, and
Yeah.
got a little confused. But you want to talk just for a minute just about Krakoa a little bit and what they were kind of trying to build in that
Yeah.
with their own
Hmm.
nation.
Yeah, we kind of just touched on it a little bit that it started with Hickman's House of X, Powers of X,
which were amazing.
which was the best X-Men I've read in years.
Yeah.
Like before that, it had been a long time. It was such an original story, kind of like for those who don't know, just basically the X-Men pretty much being like fed up with the humans enough so that they created their own kind of paradise and planet and area for themselves to live in, and came up with technology to revive dead mutants when they died using like five other mutants combining their powers, and you could revive each other. And they had medicines that would cure any sickness and do anything, and they would share these with the humans. Just the only thing they asked is they be left alone. That was kind of like the trade-off. Of course, humans didn't trust mutants as they never have, and like we're always suspicious of them. So they had their adventures here and there. There's still an X-Men team with like Cyclops on it. There's a count who's the leader. There's a council where all the top X-Men sit, like the smartest minds in the world kind of have this government. That's what the book Immortal X-Men was about, like the Quiet Council and what they're doing, which included people like Professor X and Magneto, but then you also had the White Queen and Nightcrawler, Storm, all like forming this government who makes all the decisions. But the downfall of Krakoa always kind of was connected to Mr. Sinister was on that council, because here in Krakoa, you kind of like even if you're a villain, you're still a mutant. So we're all together. Like we got Sabretooth up here. We got people who we've fought, but we're all mutants. We're sticking together until people like Mr. Sinister still have these crazy ideas that they're still going to take over the world. So he kind of like started this whole downfall. Basically, Krakoa has been going down the drain. There's this other group who's wanted to take them down for a long time called Orchis, and like finally in the comics that started. And um without getting super into it, it's basically the downfall of Krakoa happening. A bunch of people died. Professor X is blaming himself, and Magneto's been gone for a while. So yeah, but it's been an okay thing. Jonathan Hickman started it, and for those who know, I love him as a writer, but he is very detailed and dense in his storytelling, which is
Mhm.
sometimes seems like it could be hard to follow. It's like watching a very dense sci-fi movie. It's like it's like reading a Dune or something. You know what I mean? Like with all the stuff that's going on, you got to pay so close attention. Um, but it's been fun, and but like any good story, it kind of has to come to an end at some point. So I think they finally are reaching that in the comics. It's all ending here in this Fall of X miniseries, couple miniseries they're doing. And then, like Chris just said, we're gonna be rebooting the X-Men for the summer, and it's time to get excited about these new rosters and new writing teams. And yeah, I'm all for it. I love reading the X-Men. Like we've said, it was my first love as a comic book team, and so I'm excited to try these books.
100%.
Yeah.
I've been looking and seeing this X-Men, kind of been just looking at covers and seeing it seems like they were heading towards some kind of big massive event of some kind, seeing the almost the same whatever the two miniseries is, like the Fall of the House of X and the other
Mhm.
one that they're running kind of mirror how it started. So I'm just like, oh man, should I jump back into those? It's been years, I can't.
Mhm.
But I guess just recently they dropped Weapon X-Men, which is I think a completely separate story that they're just telling about a bunch of different multiversal Wolverines. So you have like nine or like five versions of Wolverine across all of them, all basically jumping from timeline to timeline trying to fight Onslaught.
Oh, okay.
And I was reading that and I was like, man, misreading some X-Men. And then it was like literally like 2 days later this week they announced Relaunch. I'm like, thank God. I'm
All right.
like,
I'm
I'm
back,
ready for some
baby.
X-Men again. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, it's got me almost pumped to be like, man, I want to almost, when I got that Comixology subscription, I'm like, I wonder if they have any of like the trades in there, and they had at least the first two volumes. So I'm like, let me
Hmm.
let me check out at least where Gary took over
Yeah.
and just kind of see what he did with it a little bit and see if I want to like how far I want to catch up,
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
I want to read before the actual relaunch, or if it really just doesn't matter. I don't know how much
Yeah.
carryover there'll be.
I think they want you to, they're probably going to want to make it accessible for people who didn't read the Krakoan stuff, because I don't
Mhm.
think everybody did. Like we just said, it's heavy reading for the
Yeah.
general, I think. Not to say the run wasn't good. I've been reading it since the beginning, but it's just different. So this kind of makes it seem like we're still gonna be feeling the reverberations from the end of it, but they kind of are just wanting to start fresh, maybe bring them back to living with the humans, and there's no Krakoa anymore, and
Yeah.
we're back to teams. Like you can tell from the promotional picture, which is included, like each one of these books is gonna have a different roster
Yeah.
of X-Men. Um, you got your one team with Nightcrawler, Jubilee, Rogue, Wolverine, and Gambit. That's the Gail Simone book, the Uncanny book. That's like kind of as close out of these three as you're gonna get to like a classic team. Like not, I'm sure it'll change the rosters too, but that's the image they posted of those five.
Just the fact of them bringing back the Uncanny X-Men title and having
Yeah,
that feel of like the 90s X-Men just in their even their appearance
yeah,
was just like, man, there's no way I don't buy this book.
yeah. And I like Gail Simone as a writer too. She wrote Batgirl in the New 52. She's known for a lot of DC stuff. Birds of Prey is one of her big books. So I'm interested to see her take on the X-Men. She's good at writing teams, a lot of people say.
That's good.
So that's cool. Yeah. X-Men has like a team of Magnetos looking like he's sitting on a chair like Professor X, so he's in the background, but that team features Cyclops and Beast and Magic and Juggernaut's on the team and Psylocke. That's a cool team. Uh Jed McKay's writing Moon Knight right now and Avengers, I think. So he's kind of like a big name for Marvel at the moment. The third book, The Exceptional X-Men, I'm gonna read it, but it's like that team maybe I'm the least amount excited for. One, just because I don't know Eve Ewing that much. Not to
Hmm.
say I'm not gonna give her a chance, but I can't really name too much from her. But it has like Shadowcat and White Queen, it looks like, and then a couple people I don't even recognize. So it's like I'll definitely try it because I want to read all of them to start.
What's
But
three more series?
yeah, yeah, exactly. The other two definitely have me super excited with their lineups and the writing team and the art. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it should be cool come summertime.
I'm ready for it. And I mean, very excited to see the hype on just across my Twitter feed for it. Like everyone's like, yeah, get the X-Men. So I think there were a lot of people that had kind of been
Mhm.
waiting for this, like myself, of like, okay, when are they going to relaunch this? I enjoyed the idea of Krakoa. Honestly, like you said, that opening Powers and House of X are some of the greatest comics I think I've ever read. Like
Yeah.
those were insane reading those through. And I've read that's one of the only things that I've actually gone back and read. Like those
Mhm.
were amazing books and it was a great start. And if they would have just shifted that into just X-Men, I probably would have kept up with it the whole time. The fact that there was so much to read and they were bouncing across like six different books, it was just too much for my little brain to handle. So
Sure.
I'm definitely three I could probably handle. And like you said, whether or not they all hang, but at least X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, I can imagine sticking around just for the main line of it, where those just feel like the main books in my brain. Once again, my little brain is put
I,
things
I
weird.
I remember back buying X-Men comics when Uncanny and X-Men were like the two mains.
Yeah.
It was like, do I buy them both or do I buy just one? Which one do I like better? Which one should I be reading? They're both fun. I'm
But
gonna
then
buy
Joe
them both.
Madureira was the artist for Uncanny, and
Yeah.
he just had that art style that you're just like, I got to
Yeah.
keep. I really, I don't. I mean, I don't know if there was something that happened, but it's amazing that that dude fell off the mainstream. Like I know he went to go do Battle Chasers
Yeah.
and like do his own things, and he did a lot of indie, and I think he still does.
mm,
But
I know,
just how far he was doing Uncanny X-Men and like Captain America and like I mean he was doing a lot of big books and having some of the best art out there. Like for a comic book art, that's what you picture. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
At least we did. I've seen
Mm,
people like give him crap before just because they don't love his style because
okay.
they think it's too like he's too inspired by anime and everything looks kind of anime and that's not what they imagine for superheroes. They like it to be more like, just straight up his proportions are off, blah blah blah. I always liked it just because I thought like I liked his
Yeah.
style that was inspired by anime and it looked different than stuff that, we were used to and it just felt superhero-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not
Well,
everything has to
epic.
yeah, yeah.
What was the name of his Captain America? Was it like Agent America or
You
Agent
something like that. The
US
one
Agent?
No, U.S. Agent is the Marvel character
Uh,
played by
yeah, yeah,
uh
yeah,
Kurt Russell's son. But there was some book where he was like it was like his creator owned Captain America, but it was like straight up a Captain America rip.
yeah. I
But
have
somebody, yeah,
I have the first one, or I have something of that because I know
yeah.
when he stopped doing X-Men, I still was grabbing a couple of his independent, couple
Hmm.
battle chasers and stuff, but then it just I wasn't keeping up with comics enough to keep up with any of it. I know I've told you
Hmm.
this before as this random sidebar, but I remember I saw him at a comic convention
Hmm.
and I just kind of like walked up to him and started talking to him and not
Yeah.
realizing he had a giant line and he was being really cool, like, yeah, man, I appreciate that. And he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, man, you gotta get in line. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know there was a line.
So I got to get back to these signatures. And everyone's
Yeah,
looking at me
people who
like
are
all
actually
mad.
paying me for things and not
Right.
just some random dude who just wants to talk to me.
Yeah, that's
But I always
fun.
found that funny. One of those embarrassing moments where you're like, whoops,
Sorry, Joe Mad.
sorry, man, sorry. But yeah, as we've said many times, we're definitely hyped for this X-Men book. We're definitely going to talk about it this summer, and I'm excited for more. Kind of see how the fall of Krakoa goes and
Hmm.
where we pick up. But it was nice to, like I said, sometimes it's nice to have that reboot to go back to your roots, and that's what it seems like they're doing. Even from that trailer of showing Jubilee and the mutants kind of back in hiding and stuff. So I think it, like I said, I'm excited.
Yeah,
You know what
definitely.
else I was excited about?
What's that?
When you texted me and said, "Hey, there's a new episode of Invincible out," and I was like, "There
Boo!
is."
Yep.
And the other, and what shocked me on top of being excited was the fact that nobody talked about this episode. Like I saw zero
Mm.
talk on my feed about uh Invincible returning, Invincible reviews, Invincible talking about it. So maybe we'll be the only ones talking about it, and everyone will come to us.
Yeah,
Yes.
come on, guys. We still are talking Invincible here. Oh,
Hell yeah. This is one of my most anticipated shows returning. I don't watch TV shows. I watch the shit out of Invincible, man.
yeah, yeah. This is the second half of season two. We had
Yeah.
a little couple month break, wasn't it? About 2 months
We
in
got,
there.
I think, three. I think we
Yeah.
got the first four episodes in November.
Okay.
We took the holidays off. Now we're here in March, pushing the end of March, and we're getting, well, however many are left.
Sure.
So this
Three.
is episode 5 of season 2, titled This Must Come as a Shock.
Hmm.
And as I'm looking at my notes and saying how good it is to be back, I'm trying to remember. Oh, yes, we ended the season. We ended our break with Mark and Omni Man, Nolan fighting the Viltrumites on the bug planet,
Correct. Which was amazing, and
which was amazing of
we
them
talked
just
about
kind
that
of,
here. Yeah.
and basically Mark being left for dead, but also being told by the Viltrumites, "You're your dad now. Go back to Earth and get it ready for us." Nolan getting
Hmm.
taken off to get executed for treason,
Hmm.
and they just left us hanging. Like, huh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Jerks.
So we came back to that moment. We came back to Mark being found by the. I'm blanking on the name of the bugs because I'm
The Bug Planet
the
people.
bug planet people.
Yeah.
Basically finding him and basically bringing him back. So we kind of almost time jump pretty immediately to like 2 months later when he's helping rebuild that planet. And we're
Hmm.
seeing the life cycle of those bugs basically being extremely quick
Hmm.
because by the time 2 months are past, Nolan's new wife is pretty much
Dying.
dying. And
Yeah.
she's telling Mark, here's your brother, which they didn't name the brother, right?
Nameless, I
He's still
think.
nameless, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's basically saying, hey, take your brother back to Earth. This
Yep.
will be great for Nolan's first wife.
Yeah. She's gonna
This won't
love
be
it.
dramatic at all.
Yeah. She's gonna love your purple illegitimate brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll
Half
be
brother.
half brother. So that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Mm.
But it was, like I said, great for the show to be back. I loved this
Yeah.
episode. Loved it.
Yeah, me too. Just something about having Invincible to watch is feels right. You know what I mean? There's just something about this show that is, and we've talked about it because we've talked about Invincible a lot here, but just like the feeling of not knowing what what could happen, the feeling of realizing that anything could happen is not normal in a show. Like usually you're going along like next week we're going to be sitting and watching X-Men 97 and I'm not going to be sitting there
Yeah.
I'm not going to be sitting there watching X-Men 97 and be like, "Hey, Wolverine could die at any minute and be gone forever." Like I know that's not going to happen, but this show, that doesn't that safety net isn't there. This is like crazy to me how much tense joy I feel watching this because I don't know what's going to happen. And like this show is based on a very popular comic book, and I've thought many times about reading the comic book, but I don't want to because I want to be surprised as I'm watching this.
Oh yeah, and you know what sucks for me is I just signed up for Comixology. You know,
And you
like the
see it
first
sitting
like
there.
8 volumes are sitting there, like that
Yeah.
I could just read for free. I don't have to go buy anything. Like they just have the first handful of volumes that I could just start reading at any. I just have to download it on my Kindle and start
Yeah.
reading, and it terrifies me. I'm
Yep.
gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight it. I fought it for now a couple of years for more Invincible, so I'm enjoying the show until I hear otherwise about this show not continuing on. I'm good.
Yeah.
With just sticking with this show. I mean, I gotta keep my Amazon Prime subscription for something.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah, I hear you. Me too. This and the boys. That's about it.
that's it.
Uh,
You're not
but
gonna watch Ricky Sinicki?
hell no. Hell no. Um, yeah, I mean, I think you probably agree. You're happy to have this back, and we both
Yeah.
agree. But like you kind of brought it up, you kind of touched on it, but do you think there's a reason why it's just it seems like the world isn't as excited for this as maybe they were in the past, or like what's going on? How come there wasn't a lot of hype behind this returning, or like we didn't like I had to randomly see that it was back that day. Like before I feel like it was kind of all over my timeline. Now it's just kind of like, oh, it's splattered here and there. I don't know. What's
One, I
going
feel
on?
like the split is always a horrible idea. It's so easy to then just forget about it. There's so much content. There's new shows dropping every week, whether they're binge or weekly. There's so much TV, there's so much movies, there's so much podcast. There's just so much content for us to consume and we can't consume it all. And the idea of getting people started with Invincible and then just kind of saying, "All right, psych, we'll be back. Here's 4 episodes and we'll be back in 3 months." I think it's just a death sentence for people to do nowadays. You can't do TV like that. That's a weird way of thinking. The other thing too is I think because they were doing it like that, there's probably a lot of people that didn't watch those first four. So now there's kind of like this weird backup. And if they got spoiled, maybe they just said, no, there's probably a lot of people, and let us know on our social medias at Raise the Geek or shoot us an email at raisethegeek@gmail.com if you're one of those people who might have just decided, I'm good. I'll read the book.
Mhm.
I don't know. My other guess is going to be Amazon. Like Amazon shows the boys withstanding. Like Amazon shows movies you rarely hear about. They rarely make the mainstream unless it's something
Like the boys.
like The Boys, like Saltburn, that,
Mhm.
has moments where people are like, you got to see this.
And the boys gets memed everywhere.
Yeah.
So everybody knows Homelander, so everybody knows about the
And
boys,
and and for The Boys, their
Yeah.
social media team is like killing it.
Genius. Yeah.
They keep up with every
Yeah.
moment of popular culture and they spoof it
Hmm.
in the boys' way. Like, so they keep themselves in our mind.
Sure.
Invincible doesn't do that. So,
Hmm.
like, outside of a random advertisement or a random ad from Amazon that says Invincible's back this week, I haven't seen any other promotion for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
I
wouldn't
think
have sent me random trailers saying it's coming, I would have never seen them.
yeah. I think you probably hit the nail on the head just with the split. I think it's not conducive to getting people to watch your show more. I mean, maybe the same, but not anymore. I don't think it does anything except like you said, just get people to kind of forget about you. And then when you have to like rev it up again so quickly, but also like not quickly, it's just like what is the point of the break? I don't understand the point of the
It
break.
made sense back in the day when you had like summer, you had winter, you had Christmas, you had, where they always would take a break from, like when we're watching Lost, it's like, all right, here's the fall finale, here's the spring premiere. Like
Yeah.
we take the holidays off, or there's a big event or sweeps, or like there were moments and stuff. It made sense. Now it doesn't make any sense. And when you have half of the TV watching population who refuse to watch things weekly anymore and want
Hmm.
everything to be bingeable,
Hmm.
like, then what are you doing? And then it's one thing, okay, I'm all for the week to week. I watch TV best when it's week to week because giving me 8 episodes that I can see they're all like I want to watch The Gentleman on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I came out, got the alert on my Netflix, like The Gentleman's ready to go. It's on your list. Looked at it and saw that it's 8 1 hour and 10 minute episodes, and I said I'm never gonna watch that. But if you would have gave me one episode that week that was an hour, I would have watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But because they gave me 8 at one time, for whatever reason in my brain, I just can't do it.
You said it's too much.
It's too much because I'll watch one and I'll never go back.
Yeah.
So like it's too much. So it's like you have a weird viewing. We all watch TV differently and we all watch it on our own schedules versus back in the day. And then, like I said, right now, yeah, in that environment, how do you drop 4 and then say, see you in 3 months?
No, I think that's totally true. I think that model killed Better Call Saul, which they did. They did it that way and took a long break. And
They took like
then,
a year, didn't they, or something stupid, like six
and
months?
something like that. And I think they did it like in order to be a part of 2 award seasons. But by doing that, you killed your momentum of what you had going on in the first season. You let people forget about it for 6 months. Then it pops up. I was like, I got to remember what was happening 6 months ago on this show now.
And they left you with a hell of a cliffhanger too.
Right. And exactly like when they killed
Ugh!
the lawyer. Oh God, spoilers. Uh,
We're not spoiling Better Call Saul
it's been
here.
out for
Hey,
it's been out for a
and if
year.
if you want to hear what we thought about Better Call Saul, go
Yeah,
back in the episodes,
yeah.
and we do have something back in the archives where we were probably the only people talking about the finale and the last season of that show because that show was one of the best
Well, it was, but
ever.
then like I'm saying, you
Yeah,
killed your momentum by cutting up the season to be part of 2 award seasons, and you didn't win any awards
yeah,
anyway. So it's like you did
that
yourself a disservice.
that poor
And
show.
yeah, I know, and I kind of feel like Invincible did that a little bit them to themselves right now. Like the fact that no one's really talking about this show as much as they should be is because you kind of killed that momentum from the first half, and like great fourth episode. Now I gotta wait, and now I gotta kick it back into high gear here, which I mean I'm okay with because I'm gonna seek that show out. But for people who aren't seeking that show out, they're just kind of like, what's this? The fifth episode. Where's the first four? Huh? Like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
it's a weird way to put out your episodes in today's climate that
yeah.
I don't really understand. But whatever.
No, no. So hopefully it doesn't affect us
Yeah.
getting more Invincible in the future, and hopefully people are still watching it, and we're going to bring attention to it by talking about it right now. But we brought Mark came back to Earth
Mm-hmm.
after 2 months of being away, so everything was kind of a little bit different.
Yeah.
He came back with little bro, purple bro. Didn't he say he was
Introduce
going to name him something in this? Didn't he say a name?
I don't remember.
Eli or
Yeah, I didn't catch a name. Maybe I missed it. But yeah,
yeah.
he
Okay.
brought the baby home to his mama Debbie.
Yeah. So he's just going to be purple bro for right now. And so he came back with purple bro, and we had a lot of like things left hanging
Hmm.
between Shape Smith and his secret coming off of an episode back, all like a filler episode back from season 1 with the
Yep.
astronauts coming into space and him taking the place of one of the astronauts coming back. And that's ultimately what this whole episode ended up being about. We
Yeah.
still, and if I'm going to do any kinds of complaints, I'm still just like, in the first like episode, we set up Sterling K. Oh
Brown.
my God. Brown, Jesus, I don't know why I had Sterling K. I don't know where Brown got lost.
Sterling K.
We had his character like as the big bad set up for season 2, and man, I miss him.
We haven't seen him yet since that first episode. I don't think. Maybe like a little
Maybe
bit in
in
the
like a
fourth.
maybe in
Yeah.
like a post credits or
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we've seen him again. So I'm just like, man, I mean, they're going back, kind of almost finishing the trend that they started with the first half of season 2 of
Hmm.
closing all of those like gaps within season 1 that were left hanging from some filler episodes. And that's really seems like what we're doing in season 2. We're like, hey, you remember that? Oh, we had a reason for that. Here it is. And it's causing some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Well, well,
I will say this show is a little methodical with their pacing. They kind of take their time with stuff. So yeah,
yeah.
that Sterling K. Brown thing is probably coming, like the payoff from that and like what's gonna happen next. But I agree. It's been a minute for him.
It's been a minute. And
Yeah.
like I said, it comes back around. And I'm like, wait, like even just this Mars thing, I'm like,
Hmm.
what happened?
Yeah.
That was a filler episode I paid attention to, but not really. Like, because I figured it
Hmm.
was like, this is a filler episode. I didn't know I had to pay attention.
Yeah.
We got a whole side story with Donald being a robot.
Yeah. He's finally more of them being methodical. He's been putting those clues together ever since the end of episode 1, where he like blew up and couldn't remember how he's back. Saw video surveillance of himself blowing up, and he's like, "How am I still a thing?"
Well, and then he
Start
remembered Omni-Man punched him through the chest
right, right.
before
That
he
too.
blew up, and he's like,
Yeah.
wait, how did I
Hmm.
survive that?
Exactly. Exactly.
So Donald figuring, I don't know where that's going.
Yeah, that's another little thread we got to pay attention to.
In the first half of season 2, we kind of saw Shapesmith and how he
Mhm.
decided to be human and basically decide he wants to be a superhero and join the Guardians of the Globe
Yeah.
and have the secret of like, hey, I'm a Martian and nobody knows it. And in this episode, his secret is out,
Yeah. They all kind of said they knew it anyway.
right?
Or
He wasn't not that he's not that deceptive of a person. He's kind of jokey.
what's the name of the I'm sorry, I should have the character names here, but what is the name of the leader voiced by Walton Goggins? Um
I got
Clyde,
nothing.
Clyde
Oh
or some shit.
yeah, you keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah, he kind of said he had it figured out. Yeah, the Guardians of the Globe stuff was mainly part of this episode. We got um Invincible back fighting on their side, and also the girl's name, not Atomic Girl.
Walton Goggins' name is Cecil.
Cecil. Jeez. Okay, I got
And are you
Cecil.
talking about Adam Eve?
Adam Eve. Dude, so many names.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
I got the IMDb up now. Should have had it
Yeah.
up, but I didn't think. I
Okay.
thought about it. I was like, should I pull that up? And I'm like, we got it.
Yeah, Adam Eve and Invincible are back with the Guardians of the Globe, and like Rex Splode. The one name I can remember is Rex Splode. Um,
Rex.
he kind of had a nice moment with Eve, kind of bringing her back into the whatever. He's like a Joker at heart and kind of a class clown, but he has a little heart to him too. So
And we got to see that, which was nice before,
yeah, before
we may
stuff
never see him again.
before stuff happened. Yeah, that was the main action of them, kind of the Guardians going out to face this Mars threat, but Rex Splode stayed behind with the multiplier girl.
Duplicate and
Duplicate.
shrinking ray.
See, you got the I
I
know you
wrote
got the
those down. I
IMDb.
wrote those down in our notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Those two I did write down because I did not know what they were.
Okay.
But yes, they stayed behind while we had this crazy like the human that got left behind by Shapesmith
Mm-hmm.
basically got taken over by these little like hive mind aliens, and they were bringing millions of them to Earth to come conquer our planet. So like
Mm-hmm.
stakes are super high, and we sent the
Sure.
Guardians of the Globe, and Rex is like, they got this.
Yeah.
Little did he know that like the Lizard League.
Serpent Society, is it? I think is it the Lizard League or Serpent Society?
I saw Lizard League.
Okay, it
Now
might be. All right. It's
I'm not
probably
sure,
Lizard League.
but they've kind of almost been like joke bad guys this whole series.
Yes.
Like they can't do anything right.
They're kind of like bumbling. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were not bumbling in this episode. And they were like, we got this. So, like,
Yeah.
went up against the B team
Mm-hmm.
and showed us what they could do. And Lizard League was no joke, man. In this episode, we had this crazy, like, climax of this episode where we had the Guardians of the Globe on this spaceship trying to fight off this hive mind alien species before it gets to Earth. And we had the Lizard League busting into the military compound that Rex and Duplicate and Shrinking Ray have to try to stop, all happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just end the episode. And I was like, fuck Amazon. Like,
You assholes.
it was the
Yeah.
one time where I was like, I'm ready for the next episode. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to wait a week. But you know what? Glad I have to wait a week because you know what? I'm thinking about what happened at the end of this episode. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's in peril and I don't know what's happening. And I'm amped up. By the time we get to
Yeah.
next Thursday, I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to be Rexplode.
Ready to explode.
Ready to Rexplode.
A lot of these especially those two main things happening at the same time and going back and forth between the two, just like the tense levels
Hmm.
of Invincible. I just felt it again. And like we've said before, the action and fights in this show just continue, and this was a reminder, they just continue to be like, you don't know what's around the corner, you don't know what's going to happen, they don't hold back. Like I only feel this with other shows like The Walking Dead or during that show or The Boys or anything where it's like you don't know what's going to happen with each action sequence and it makes you nervous and you just don't know if your favorite people are going to make it. Like spoilers, guys, if you haven't watched Invincible, go watch it.
Let's talk
But
about it.
Duplicate and Shrinking Ray, two characters that have been around for a while that we've seen and have had a lot of dialogue and have become part of the team that we know, like both got murdered, like in this fight with the reptile. Uh, what are they called? The
Lizard League.
Lizard League, yeah. Um, and in Invincible, they don't come back unless you're Alan the Alien, which at the end of this episode,
Some
he
people do. Like, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
Invincible's taken some beatings, and I
but
mean, I
he's
know
never
he's
died.
invincible, but he's never died. No, yeah, these women straight up died.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It kind of reminded you a little bit of some of this from the first episode when all those, original Guardians got wrecked. And it's just like, oh, they're dead. They're dead. They can't come back from that. Their heads explode. Shrinking Ray gets eaten in this from the inside.
okay,
Like she's go on.
how cool was it? Because you
Yeah.
always like do those jokes, and they even did those jokes. They did that joke where they talked about how you have someone small, and that was always like a meme about like Ant-Man just climbing inside Thanos.
His butt.
His butt, yeah. Can climb inside Thanos' butt and
Yeah.
expand and just
Right.
end the Infinity War.
Sure.
There's been jokes about that. And
Of
more
course.
or less, like Shrinking Ray was doing that because
Mhm.
she climbed into that one dude's eye and basically
Blew his
blew
head
his
up.
brain out.
Yeah.
So when she jumped into that dude's mouth and he like just ate her, and then Rex is like, she doesn't stay small. And then you watched her like try to get big, and he was like, no, I'm still gonna eat you from the inside. I was like, what am I
As
watching?
you're as she's like trying to grow and kill him from the inside, he's like, nope, I'm going to use my organs to crush you inside me.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
stopped her from getting bigger and still ate her.
Yeah. it
That's
was
insane.
it was insane. It was insane. And I think he was the same character who was like destroying the duplicate clones and like ripping them
Yeah,
in
he
half, and
was.
you didn't know which one was which, and he finally got his hands on the original and then like smashed her head into one of the clones and like, you know,
That was it.
that was it. Just like, dude, this show is still insane.
But
And
because of the Lizard League and them kind of being bumbling this
yeah,
whole length of this show, I was like, oh, well, of course she's going to grow big and just explode him and do that.
right.
No, she
Not that,
didn't. He
not this
ate her.
time. Not this time. Not this
And then
time.
he was still hungry and ate Rex's hand.
Oof, yeah, Rex lost that hand. I
Rex
forgot
lost
about
a hand. So if he survives, he still doesn't have a hand.
that. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
Uh,
crazy, man.
so
There's no holds barred. There's no limitations to who's safe and who's not. That's just what part of what excites me.
so two questions. One,
Yep.
is Rex going to live?
Sure.
And two, if he does live, will he ever be the same?
Hmm.
Can he go back to being kind of carefree? We got this superhero after watching both of these women die
Yeah.
and getting his hand bitten off and having the leader of the Lizard League with a gun to his head basically pulling the trigger. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I don't see why he wouldn't pull the trigger unless
I
someone
think
shows up and stops it.
my prediction, yeah, these are all predictions because we don't know. We haven't read the comics. I think if they were going to kill Rex, they would have done it as shock value at the end of the episode to let you sit with that.
Yeah,
I don't think they're starting off episode two just being like, bullet in Rex's head. Now let's
yeah.
keep having the episode. So I do expect him to survive. Like maybe Cecil pops in, he pops in and out with his uh
Teleporter.
teleporter or whatever, or who knows what's gonna happen. I don't know why I feel like Rex is gonna live so they can do more character work with him because he will be a changed character
He'd
after
have to be,
this.
right? I mean, he
Yeah.
can't go back. Even if you
No,
give him a robot hand and he can wears a
no,
glove, he can't go back. Like,
no, he won't be like the laughing, joking, bully, whatever guy anymore. I think he's going to be probably really changed. I think there's a better opportunity to keep that character alive and let him have to deal with some things. Um, but I don't know. Like we keep saying, you don't know what's going to happen. So if they start off episode 2 by them pulling the trigger and Rex's head explodes in the first second of the episode, I wouldn't be surprised either.
No.
Um,
So then if we jump to space,
mhm,
we had the Guardians of the Globe really not being able to handle this hive mind alien threat.
mhm,
And for really the way they were setting that is they were about to be had a wave of aliens about to wash over them and take over for them. Outside of Invincible, who they've already established that the aliens can't get through his skin to take it over his mind,
yeah,
but he can outside and robots out of his shell, so he can
right.
get got. Like everybody
Right.
but Invincible can get taken over by this hive mind. Do we see that next week?
Possible, and they kept their main defense. The whole team was like Adam Eve kept putting up shields,
And
but
her
she's
shield
like,
went down.
yeah, she was getting tired and worn out, and it like finally broke. So yeah, they got a lot of things to do in the opening sequences of episode 2. I don't know how they're gonna get out of these sticky situations because we find ourselves in 2 of them right here. But I had a lot of fun getting to where we were. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw a negative at us.
Uh-oh.
We've been loving it. I really wish, and I know we kind of just briefly touched on it here a few minutes ago, but I really wish Adam Eve would have gotten. I wish they would have done a little bit more. Like we kind of ended episode 4 with her going back to her parents and realizing that her as a superhero is a bad idea and people get hurt because of me. And then they really kind of just like walked that back. Like Rex came
Mm.
and he was like, "Hey, those people are going to be okay because of you. Come on, be a superhero." And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we just like she had this big moment where she's kind of doubting herself and going back home and like gonna not superhero. And the fact that we got nothing from that kind of just is, I don't know, feels like a waste. Like I really would have liked to see what that angle was.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we got nothing out of that. That was all pointless. All of her arc in the first 4 episodes just went away.
It just didn't add up to anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, whether or not it comes back around where she's like, see, some people from the Guardians die in this thing, and she, it cements why she shouldn't be there. If Rex has a different opinion because of his situation, like, I don't know if they're going to come back to that. If anything, the way that this show does come back to things, I really hope that they do.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, well, what was the point of that? Like, I know we
Yeah.
had a 3-month break since when that happened, so it's really easy to forget about it, but I didn't.
Right. Right.
Um,
We got receipts.
we got receipts, and I want to know like why they did that. What was the point of that arc if they were
Mm.
just gonna,
All it took was a pep talk from Rex just to get her to be like, "All right, forget it."
all right, sorry, I'm gonna sneak out the window and piss off my parents again that I just
Right.
got reconciled with.
Yeah.
Like
Not-
that was my one, like, that's it.
yeah. That's a little
Um,
quibble. That's a quibble, but it makes sense. I
yeah, it was,
agree.
I mean, it's small, it's not
Yeah.
anything important. Obviously, she needed to be on that spaceship to
Use a
get them to
shield.
survive because if
Yeah.
it wasn't for her, they would have all died when that ship exploded.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, they needed her to even get to the ship and deal
Hmm.
with the problem. So
Yeah.
even their plan to begin with, we're going to get as close to the hull. We're going to pretend we're space garbage. We're going to get up
Hmm.
to the hull. We're going to cut a hole in the hull and sneak on. I'm sorry. In space, if you cut a hole in the hull, there's no sneaking on. They're
This
going to
is
know
true.
you're there.
This is true. Their plan was flawed from the beginning.
You can't cut a hole. Like there's
Yeah.
sensors, and usually, unless you have some kind of like weird airlock technology that you can like sneak on, chances are there's going to be some kind of depressurization going on
Yeah.
when you sneak onto a spaceship. Like that doesn't work.
The cartoon superhero movie has flaws.
Yeah, I know. But just gotta give it a little bit.
No, you're right. You are right about those
No,
things.
it's funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, super happy. Invincible's back. Left us
Yeah.
on this cliffhanger,
Yeah.
and I
What
can't wait. And then next week we get X-Men 97 to go with it. So animated superheroes for the win this week, man. This month.
what are you looking for in these final 3 episodes? What do you want?
There's only 3 episodes.
Yeah, because it's an 8 episode season, so it's 4 and 4.
Uh
they definitely gotta, bring us back to what's going on with Omni-Man, where he is with the Viltrumites. They
Yep.
gotta touch on, the Viltrumites. They didn't really mention it in this first episode of them basically telling Mark, like, no, you're our new guy on Earth and get it ready for us. Like, he didn't really sweat that much in this
No.
episode. He was more worried about his brother and making sure his mom is okay. Then all of a sudden he's called back to space. So
Yeah.
uh, we're gonna have to kind of get on that, and stuff's going on with Alan. There at the post-credit scene, we'll see what's going on with Alan and
I want to
Optimus
know
Prime.
the biggest question this show needs to answer at some point
Hmm.
is why do Viltrumites have to have mustaches?
Sure.
Because like even the wise man that saved Alan's life,
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, when
Yeah.
Optimus Prime saved his life,
Yeah.
his whole thing was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm gonna pull off my beard, but I still have a mustache," which Alan immediately was like, "You're Viltrumite."
Yeah.
So it's clearly like Viltrumites have to have mustaches, and I want to know why.
It begs the question: is Mike Ditka a Viltrumite?
He has to be.
Is
That's
Dr.
the only.
Phil a Viltrumite?
Oh my god.
Is Borat a Viltrumite? Every famous mustache you can think of, you got to ask yourself: is this man a Viltrumite? Anyway,
Yeah.
Alex Trebek, rest in peace. Back when he had a mustache,
He did have a mustache for a while.
he
And
did.
then when he got kicked out of the Viltrumite society, he had to shave it.
Yeah,
It's just a thing that clearly is a thing
yeah.
because
It
they,
is.
I mean, Robert Kirkman, when they
Mhm.
designed these characters, they went out of their way to be like, "Hey, every Viltrumite has to have a mustache."
Yeah,
So like that's a
except
thing.
Mark, but he's still young.
But he's still young. But
Give
like,
Mark time. Yeah,
and he's only a halfie too. So
true,
like, he's not a
true.
full Viltrumite.
Right.
So it's just kind of like interesting that they do that. But then when I saw like Optimus Prime pull his beard off and then his mustache was how Alan knew,
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, it's in the mythos now.
yeah. That was funny.
I need to know. But yeah, Alan's back and he's super buff and ready to. I
Yeah.
enjoyed his delivery of I saw them punch my eye out from my eye.
Right.
That's
So
weird. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
that is totally weird.
yeah, totally fits Seth Rogen, that character. I
Yeah,
know,
it
I
was
know
a
he,
great self
yeah,
cast.
for sure. They aren't always, but yeah, a lot of questions here to answer in these next three. You'd hope we get a lot of things going on, like
I would hope.
the baby brother is. They let you know he's like aging fast. It'd be cool to see him kind of like get up to an age where he can communicate and talk
I
and
would
like,
imagine he'll either
yeah,
start talking at the end of this season or they'll do a time jump into season 3 and he'll already be a teenager. I would
right,
imagine, depending on they didn't really specify how fast he's growing.
right,
Because he was there 2 months and he's still a
a
baby,
toddler,
so
yeah,
a toddler. So yes, they said he's growing, but he's still not communicating, so he's not growing that fast. So
yeah, yeah,
very interested. But yeah, there's tons of stuff. I need them to get back to Sterling K. Brown and his overarching jumping to universes storyline
yeah.
that they started in the season. So we only got 3 more episodes left of the season, unless his character is going to be like a bigger bad that's going to span multiple seasons.
Yeah.
I just need clarity on that. But yeah, kind of bummed that you're telling me that I only get 3 more episodes. So
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer, but we've been assured by Robert Kirkman that the following seasons, like I think it's been confirmed for a season 3 and maybe even a 4. They're like they'll come out quicker than we did the first time. There won't be as long of a break, so hopefully we get more of a consistency with this
do
show.
you think we get any season 3 this year? Do you think they
Um,
keep to this pattern and we get like maybe the first 4 of season 3 in November
that would be fun. That would be
and then the
good.
other 4 in March and we hit a November March
I wouldn't mind it.
schedule?
I would hope, like, if this show's going to be over in 3 weeks, I hope we don't have to wait until 2025 for more, honestly. But we'll see, because I guess they're making them or they're made or something. So hopefully it's not a huge wait. That would be good for me, good for us, because I'm into it.
Yeah, I
Um,
want more. I don't want it to go away. So,
yeah.
um, but we're excited. Let us know
Mm.
what you thought. Did you watch Invincible? Why or why not? Did you know it was back? Are we the
Now,
first to let you know it's
now
back?
you
Hopefully
do.
you didn't listen to this whole conversation to figure it out and then get
Yeah.
spoiled. Um, definitely let us know. Hit us up on our socials, like, subscribe, and follow this show on all podcast and social media services at Raised a Geek. You can also hit us up on YouTube where you can see our smiling faces on YouTube at Raised a Geek. And you can also just shoot us a long form, tell us your life story in email form at raisedageek@gmail.com. We are always looking for ways to communicate with you all as you listen to us. We want to know what you thought. You hear our thoughts. Here's our thoughts. We put them out there into the ether. Send us back yours. We're definitely interested in that. So definitely curious on that. We're going to be back next week talking about X-Men 97 episode 1 and probably Invincible season 5, season 2 episode 6.
Sounds like a show.
Yep, we're talking about animated superheroes for the next couple of weeks. We got a couple other things we're talking in the pipeline, so definitely stick around and make sure you subscribe. But with this episode, talking about Invincible season 2, part 2, premiere, I think that's going to do it for us this week. So for Raised a Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm done.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.